Hello, everyone. My name is Eric K. Thomas, and I am the editor-in-chief of the Quintessential Gentleman. And today we are sitting here with Elly Karamoh, Mr. Stylish, styling, fashionista, all of those things. And we're going to have a nice chat with him today. My brother, how are you doing today?
I'm so good, Eric. Thank you for having me. It's an honor to be a part of Quintessential Gentleman today, and for you guys to take your time to interview me. I'm really grateful.
Of course, of course. Definitely had to get into your mind. We want to see how you come up with all of the creativeness that you have. So hopefully you can give us some of those deets. But before we even get there, I just want to know, like, how did you even get here, right? Like, where did you start your love for fashion?
Well, I, for as long as I've known, I've always loved fashion. I've always been infatuated with the world of evolution, of creative growth. Um, it's just been a fun fantasy to follow. I'm originally born and raised in Paris, France, and I've always been around the art. I remember vividly at a young age watching the couture shows because it is a part of the culture of Paris. It was a channel that we used to watch along with my mom and my sister. It's called TF1, and
Mhm.
it would have a fashion segment. And at the end of the news, there would be like a couture segment where they would highlight Karl Lagerfeld and John Galliano, and they would highlight all the runway pieces. And then I remember like leaving the house, my mom would put a lot of effort in dressing us and telling us that appearance matters, and she would name uh, her bags. She would categorize his bags at first and last. If it makes sense, she would basically would say, "Go get my Louis Vuitton bag. Go get my Celine bag, or my Karl
Yeah.
Lagerfeld shoes hurt." So at a young age, I identified fashion as a representation. I identified it as a character in a way. And when I moved to the States, I didn't speak English. So I spent a lot of time on Vogue, Elle, and I just made fashion my friend. And I watched videos and educated myself on it. And I love the art. And
Wow.
I've always loved fashion. I just don't really know where without it, honestly.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. So hold on. So you love fashion. You were born in, I would say, the fashion capital of the world.
Yes, the Mecca.
And you said, nope, United States, here I come. What inspired the move?
Well, it was a young move. My mom found her husband, and
Okay.
it wasn't up to me really. But
Okay.
I was very excited to move to the States because, like I moved around like '04, where Black culture was global.
Mm,
So it was the Bow Wow, the B2Ks, the 106
yeah.
in Park, big culture change, where it was
Yeah.
urban culture mattered, Save the Last Dance, all those like cultural Black
Wow.
films that like went and crossed over. And I was infatuated with American culture. So when I moved to the States, I wasn't like sad to leave Paris because Paris was
Right.
all I knew. It wasn't something that I was infatuated. I learned how impactful Parisian and European culture was when I moved to the States. You
Okay.
know, I feel like you don't know what you have until it's gone.
Yeah.
And I only knew how to be European. I only knew how to be French. So it's when I got to the States that people highlighted, "Oh my gosh, you're Black. You're from Europe." So I never knew the power or how different I was really. But yeah, it wasn't my choice to move, Eric.
Yeah. So, Elly, what age did you move? What age were you did you come to the States?
I moved around eighth grade, seventh, eighth
Eighth
grade.
grade.
hmm
Okay.
I
Nice. Oh,
didn't,
so
I,
you were
ne-
pretty
I didn't
young.
like remember as strongly as I could because like I didn't speak English until my senior year of high school. is when I got to have the full experience of school because they isolated me in this program called ESOL so I could learn the
Oh,
language,
wow. Yeah.
which
Got it.
helped me
Got it.
because with the isolation of learning English, I really took the time and dedication and commitment to fashion digitally and on and print. So I would just literally to learn English. I would be in this program all day in school, and then I would
Yeah.
watch Disney Channel every day when I got back home to like understand how people use the language in conversation. So I would watch That's So Raven, even Steven,
Right.
just to see how young people really interacted, you know. And then on my pastime, because I didn't have friends, I would watch couture shows. I would watch all the couture shows.
Yeah. Nice. So that's a Raven. Did you like her fashion? You know, she was a fashion designer.
I loved what she represented as a young kid. I did. I thought she was so fly.
Wow.
You know, that was the era too. You know,
Yeah.
like the Raven Baxter was that girl.
She was. She
You know,
was.
like my friends and I always talk about it. Mr. Harvey always laugh because um, I associate Mr. Harvey as the father in Love Don't Cost a Thing, which was a big movie for me. I
Yeah.
associate him in his B2K.
In the
You got
cameo, he
served.
did. You
You
got
got
served.
served.
Yup.
Parents. That's my era. I turned 30 in October, so it's like literally like
Okay.
my era was the Y2K.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. So, um, you got into this fashion thing. You always been in love with fashion. At what point did you realize that you wanted to be responsible for like the looks and image of others?
Mm. Um, Around early 20s when I was working at this private custom bespoke menswear house um, called Hariaki Bespoke.
Yeah.
And I really got the proper education on creating a custom garment. So I really took the time to understand proportion measurements, thread count, and understanding the masculine physique, the posture of a man, how to dress a man, how to sell a product that doesn't exist just yet. Um,
Mhm.
After I really controlled that skill and that technique, I got the opportunity to dress Magic Johnson, Steve Harvey, Monte Ellis, and a lot of opulent guys, and I got to learn how to be around opulence and men with power,
Yeah.
and they allow me to have full control and full creativity of their image. And I had a certain confidence about myself that they were intrigued by, a certain knowledge about myself that they wanted to be, um, they wanted to know, considering that I'm from Europe and I had a different
Yeah.
approach on fashion.
Yeah.
They wanted my opinion. Um, so I think around 23, 24, I really controlled my skill and I wanted to take it to the next level. And I was blessed enough to style Monte Ellis and his wife and they start taking me to New York Fashion Week along with Saks. And when I got that exposure, I knew that that's really what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in the transformation business.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. So you have this exposure, you're learning kind of how you go. Well, I'm going to take a step back. I love what you say about so many times people ask, oh, how do I do this? Like, how do I, become this person? I'm like, you guys need to work in the places that you want to be in, right? So if you want to be
Absolutely.
interested in fashion, you need to find a fashion house, the intern or be an assistant or anything, because you learn so much about the business just by working. I don't care if you work at Ralph Lauren, right?
Absolutely.
Having that experience and working in that industry helps you so much. And I think so many times, a lot of the younger people today, they just think, oh, I just want to go out and do my own thing. But there's so much valuable information you could get from working
I
under other
worked
people.
very hard to be where I am. I started in retail.
Yeah.
I started. I worked in a lot of stores as a sales associate.
Okay.
I interned for free a lot of places. Um, And I wanted this so bad where I didn't look at it like I had any other option. So working it somewhere with someone for free, I never looked like I was wasting my time. I
Yeah.
never felt like I, I, uh, I just didn't compare myself to others because a lot of the time I was isolated by others because I liked fashion. I'm a young black man who liked
Yeah.
fashion, who talked about fashion, who wasn't scared to express himself with his image. And so I already learned how to be uncomfortable in a public
Yeah.
setting.
Yeah.
I got comfortable to be uncomfortable. I set my mind on on standing out at a
Mhm.
at an early age. So
Yeah.
I was really determined to get where I was. I snuck in shows in New York Fashion Week. I attended New York Fashion Week with no invitation. I
Right.
I just watched interviews. I emulated fashion designers, street style photographers, models. I listened to the end. Like I wanted to be where I am. So it for a lot of people, because I do get to talk to a lot of young people asking me, or people my age or even older ask me, how do I get here? How do I get here? And like the answer never sounds realistic. It always sounds cliche, work hard, work hard.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
really, you have to be really committed and dedicated. You have to pray about what you want. You have to speak about where you want to be. And it sometimes it's not near, even if you say I'm going to be a superstar actor or Oscar winner too, it doesn't have to make sense to where you are at the moment. I've been at stages in life where I say I don't want to work. I don't want to start being a waiter, and I want to start at a luxury retail. And I've had friends who had to cut off strictly because they told me that's not how it works. Well, it
And
does
it's
how it works
okay.
for me. You know,
Yep.
I think you have to work where you have to tailor your mind for your future in a way, if it makes sense.
Right. No, that's so true. And I will add to that. If there are people around you that have doubts about your dream, you don't need them around you. You
Yeah,
gotta find a new crew.
and it's not
Someone
like
that's
bad.
also
It's just like you really just like
it's not bad.
if you have a vision, I feel like you have to be laser sharp, and you have to really go after it.
Yeah. No, it's so true. So it's funny. I want to go into a little bit about the sales piece. You being
Mhm.
in sales, also, because I think from a stylist perspective and fashion, people just think, oh, you get the clothes, he figures out, put them on. But I know there's a whole business behind, being a stylist.
A whole business.
And I want to know, what role does a stylist play in the development process of a brand's talent and marketability and their also identity? Like, what role does the stylist play in, I guess, the perception of the talent that they're working with?
Okay, let me see if I can answer this question properly. Um, I feel like when the power of celebrity meets the exposure of fashion,
Mhm.
I think when those two words collide, it can really, really, how was can I feel like it really the marriage together really can elevate the brand of a celebrity. I've
Mhm.
watched the transformation of many people. For example, Rihanna. Um,
Mhm.
from a spectator's perspective, I've watched her growth as an artist who's very talented, but everyone knows that fashion has taken her to another level,
Yeah.
another, but not just her. Um, a Jay-Z. I remember when people spoke about it was a time where Jay-Z stopped wearing athleisure and urban wear and start wearing suits. It was such a
Yeah.
conversation, and it has, I'm sure, allowed him to open different doors and of opportunities. So, to answer your question, I really feel like image is a strong part of the celebrity. reinventing yourself is one of the strongest assets to be a celebrity because people lose interest very quickly. You have to entertain an audience and you have to dress the picture of the brand. Um, I think that's why when a musical artist releases a new era of a sonic sound, they focus on a new image to sell the sound. And an athlete on off season still wants to be relevant, so they now attend Fashion Week to. It's so hard for me to word these things, but like if you ask me to write it, I could write it. I just feel like the two worlds, it just really transcends and becomes something really, really, really special. If you really understand your limits and your power for your image, I think the celebrity, when a celebrity understands its image and what it could take, I mean, it's just parallel. I don't know if I answered your question correctly.
No, you did. You did. It definitely makes sense. And I think it's all about you have to understand where you are, where you're trying to go, and then also understanding the idea of, the reinvention of yourself and your brand and things like that. So, I think to your point, social media has added a layer of, I won't necessarily say scrutiny, but you have to like kind of stay up on it, and always try to, not necessarily reinvent yourself every single time, but give your audience a little bit more, something a little bit different, just to keep them going.
Yes, for sure.
But
besides social media too.
Besides social media, of course. So talk about the business piece, your day to day. What does your day to day look like? Because I know it's not just, hey, meet this person, try these clothes on. If you had one of your typical days, what does that look like for you?
So my typical day is wake up 6 a.m., pray, hit the shower, go to the gym, come back, get dressed. I have a 12-hour shift at Family Feud. We record 4 episodes a day. In between Family Feud, I handle emails for upcoming events like Fashion Week, talk to fashion designers and I talk to fashion designers in showrooms, either prepare loans from designers for certain events, schedule fittings that now style Lori and Mr. Harvey. And yeah, my day to day is it doesn't make sense to the normal person, but it's a lot. It's very unexpected. A lot of it's like one time I had my 12-hour shift and I had a publication follow me at work. I was taping that day. I was dressing Mr. Harvey. Then I had to leave work and I had a fitting for Essence for Lori until like 2 a.m. I had to wait for alterations to be completed. Then fit her in the morning. Then fit Mr. Harvey for a full day of Family Feud. Then the next day we had to fly to Paris.
Wow.
When we fly to Paris, then we have fittings, then we have fashion shows and press and things like that. So it's a lot. I asked for all of it. So it's not like this is all I've asked for. Mr. Harvey always reminds me, don't complain about what's on your plane because the whole goal is to eat. So.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one. What does your team look like for you? Who's helping you? Are you a one-man show?
I'm a one-man show right now.
Wow.
I'm a one-man show. I've had interns, but it really takes a lot because I used to style Tyler Perry as well as Mr. Harvey together, and I had an assistant. But once I just start focusing on Mr. Harvey, and then I got Lori, and then I have a new client that I won't reveal just yet. But it's really crazy how things are happening. But I'm looking for an assistant. I'm on the search for an assistant. I'm gonna get my assistant that I'm looking for. I'm not looking for a person that's into fashion. I'm looking for administration only.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm a one-man show, man. It's not easy, but I make it happen because a lot of the time, because I'm so fresh in the industry, um, a lot of the clients, the new clients I'm getting and the clients that I have want my touch. They're not ready for
Yeah.
someone else's touch on them or even
Yeah.
energy and just my direction. They want the whole experience.
Yeah. Understood. Understood. So giving them the Elly Karamoh experience, right? How do you go about styling your clients? Like, what is your, before you even put the clothes on, what's
Mhm.
your thought process?
My first thought process is the location of the event and the audience,
Okay.
because it really matters to dress for the audience or the event that you're attending. Then after that, I have a very fun technique. Um, my shopping spree happens. It's a blessing that my shopping spree is Fashion Week in the runways.
Okay.
So I get to go, I get to attend some amazing shows. And once the lights and the music turns on, I just horn in and my mind just escapes. Like I have like a whole different like feeling and almost remove every layer of this theatric presentation and I see the pieces. It could be a full ensemble, and I look at one model walking and I said, these pants, perfect for Mr. Harvey's next event. That shirt, perfect. This, and I just depict everything and really ensemble everything. And I send an email or I get to meet the designer backstage. And once we sit down, we start an email thread and we start working.
Wow. So you're not really enjoying New York Fashion Week. You're working. That's where you are like literally taking notes and figuring out. It's very
I'm
interesting.
enjoying it. No, I'm enjoying it because it's something that I've always wanted. They have the best. It's the best time ever. I'm living my purpose. I'm living my dream. So I am existing in it. A lot of the time when I focus and I'm at the shows, I review the shows later after the trip on Vogue Runway and really like study. And I also study the aesthetic of brands. Sometimes I don't fall in love with the piece on the runway, but I get to understand the designer's perspective and aesthetic. And then I
Okay.
said, wow, I want to be a part of this movement. And I start to work. Like I just found this new brand. It's an Asian designer out of London. It's called Lou Don. It's amazing. I loved it when I saw it, but then I read the reviews and the aesthetic, and I said, "Oh my gosh, I love this cinematic aesthetic. Like I love it." So
Yeah.
I reached out to them. They replied, "So we're gonna start working." But it's literally like for me, it's the entire perspective of the brand. And then I go into proportions of what will work on Mr. Harvey, and we set fittings weeks or days in advance of his next event.
Awesome, awesome. So, and how much of it is collaborative effort, right? To where you have a vision and then it's kind of going back and forth with the talent.
I I always propose the aesthetic and the look, but I love collaboration because I really understand what style is, and style is individuality. Style is a personality, is a character, and I can't evoke that emotion without consulting the client and the talent. And I could have an idea that once I put it and see it on Lori, she might feel like, should I do this? Should I do that? And absolutely, I have to consult her makeup artist. I have to consult her hair people. Her just we have a great relationship. Same thing with Mr. Harvey. All of our fittings, Mr. Harvey, are closed. It's just him and I. We got some Marvin Gaye in the bag, some
Mhm.
East Coast cigar, and we kind of like just dive in. We kind of dive in and say,
Yeah.
NFL honors. What's the vibe? How many times are we changing? What is the aesthetic? Who are we honoring? And we just dive into like our own world and we just get to it.
So talking about Steve Harvey, we've all kind of heard about the transformation or the change in his style. What was kind of your approach and the change of Mr. Harvey's style when you first started working with
My first thought is that I wanted, because I've known Mr. Harvey for a long time, I really wanted his personal style to meet his day-to-day style. I
him?
didn't want him to feel like he had to occupy a certain category because of the level that he's occupying now as a superstar, global mogul. He
Right.
has great personal style, but I wanted him to be to I wanted to reinvent his proportion. So I reevaluated his fit, and we just worked on an entire new fit. So
Hmm.
we moved everything out. We worked with Alta Sartoria, which is the haute couture, um, a division for Dolce Gabbana men, and we brought the tailors from Italy, and we really like just recreated his entire fit. And I
Right.
really wanted to reintroduce him to colors,
Okay.
reintroduce to electricity and vibrance, because his personality is just so huge that it was no reason
Yeah.
for me and this audience that he has now to just see an older, how do I say, an older man who just who is dressed, how could I say, like, his style was becoming better, but it was a category of style that to me is what society tells you what you should look like at a certain age when you reach a certain level. And
Mm,
I said,
right.
no, mirror your personality, mirror your electricity. You are one of our greats. Let's reintroduce ourselves as vibrance. Like, so I introduced him to velvets, silks, monochromatic ensembles, runway pieces,
Yeah.
European references, and range, a lot of range, a
Yeah.
lot of diversity in looks. Nothing, we never want to be expected with our looks. We always want to shock the audience. And that's what we did. And it has worked. And the response has been really, really, really amazing.
Yeah. No, it's definitely has been amazing. And not to say it was bad before, but it just to your point, I love what you say, where it's like you were dressing what society had deemed you should look like at a certain age, at a certain tax bracket, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm.
you matched it up. Now it's like, he out
Now,
here.
I
So I
mean,
love it.
literally, like last year,
Yeah.
we were top 20 best dressed men of the world by GQ, and then we were head to head compared to I forgot the guy who plays James Bond, but it was really amazing and
Okay.
honor. It was an honor for me because it was just like, wow, all the work we've done for 3 years, I'm finally like developing as a name, as a
Yeah.
brand, and people respecting my creativity and my layer of work. It's been a long time that I've contributed to fashion, but I've been wanting to have a stage. So I really am grateful to Mr. Harvey for giving me that platform.
No, of course. That's awesome. And in a recent interview, you said Steve Harvey is open to a lot more now. So
100%.
how did you get to that place?
Well, I start pushing. I start pushing change the moment I got the keys to the wardrobe, and
Okay.
so I feel like I pushed so much that now we've tried so many things that now he's open to things that sometimes I'm shocked because I would think that I would request that first, and now he said, "What do you think if we tried this?" But I remember the first time I was dressing him in South Africa for Family Feud. I told him no more pocket squares, and he looked at me crazy. Then I said, let's try sneakers. He looked at me crazy. Then I started to ask this remove accessories and really focus on 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 your silhouette. Your silhouette
Yeah.
is very important as a man, And I want your audience. I told him, I said, I want your audience to see you, to stop seeing
Yeah.
just the suits. So we start removing things so people start seeing, oh wow, look at his walk, look at his demeanor, this, that. So it just made sense to the simplest man in the room to me is the most captivating man.
Mm. I love it. I love it. I'm taking my notes. Okay, we over here
Take your notes,
quintessential gentlemen,
Eric.
so I got looked apart.
Take your notes.
So you said you finally feel like you've gotten to this stage, right? Where you contributed so much to fashion, and you finally got a stage where people can really see it and are giving you your flowers for that. But I want to know, what were some of like the hurdles you had to go through as an entrepreneur? Well, I would say one, at least the language. That was also you came in, but I think you were pretty well, but I think when you started, you were pretty good at English, right?
No,
You've
I
been here
didn't.
long enough.
I didn't move here knowing English. I didn't know English.
But at the time that you started, like kind of styling and things like that,
yeah,
you were
no,
pretty.
I spoke English completely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I still go through hurdles because I'm freshly new in the industry.
Yeah.
And I think there's always going to be no's, there's always going to be yeah. But I know myself. I'm very confident in my work. I'm very humble. I'm very grounded, and I understand that I'm a student of fashion, and I will continue to be a student of fashion. So I don't think that people should think like because you got to a certain level that the hurdles stop or the obstacles stop. I'm just gonna learn to overcome them.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. So if you weren't a stylist, I'm assuming there's still gonna be something in fashion. What would you be doing?
I will model. I would
I
love to
hear it. I
model.
hear it. Awesome, awesome. Now, would you ever do any styling for like, because I know you do styling, for your clients from a TV perspective, but whatever you do like costume design or set design or things like that from a movie perspective or anything like that?
Yeah, I feel like if they offer me a big number, I'll do it. I think money moves a lot of people. It definitely moves me.
That's real. That's real. Perfect. And what advice would you give to up and coming stylists who are interested in entering this industry, trying to really figure out the lay of the land? But what would be some advice you would give to them?
I would advise upcoming stylists to have patience, to remove themselves out of the equation sometimes, and really understand the client, the brand, the proposed idea. Because a lot of the time, the star and the brand reaches out to you. So even though you have an aesthetic, removing it doesn't mean that it won't be you. Just you have to understand the language of collaboration.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. That was good. All right. So now I just want now here, I'm back with my pen and paper. I need 5 tips from you to help you rebrand, 5 tips to help you rebrand your style. What would those tips be? Now, one of them I'm gonna say, because I learned from my research from you, and then you can add to it, is measurements. You said measurements are very important and that all men need to know their measurements and make sure that they are tailoring to that.
Yeah, I think tailoring is the key to reinventing yourself for sure. I mean, you could literally have a basic coat with tailoring, you could turn into a monumental piece in your wardrobe.
Yeah.
Then the second would be to, as a man, to have staple items, like a black suit. For me, I think that you need a tuxedo. For me, I think that you need what would you need? A really beautiful oversized peacoat. But that's like for me, five 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 advice that I can give.
If 5 is a lot, you can just you can run off tips as many as you want if you want to, and just kind of run it through that way.
Just understand your physique as well is very important. To not compare yourself to anybody, especially like a lot of people say, I want this look, but you don't have this body. So it doesn't make sense for you to dress like this. and it's not to poke at anybody, but it's just like you really have to understand your physique and proportion.
Yeah.
So really, I would just like I would remove those five and really focus on tailoring, measurements, and proportions. That's so important.
Perfect, perfect, perfect. That's it. So what else can we look forward to from Mr. Elly Karamoh?
Just look out for a lot of amazing projects coming up, a new amazing new talent that I'll be dressing, a lot more phenomenal impactful culture reverse looks from Steve Harvey, and some amazing fashion driving runaway moments from Lori Harvey. And but honestly, for everything else, I'm just letting God take me on this journey.
Perfect, perfect. Well, my brother, thank you so much for taking the time to interview with us. We greatly appreciate it, and we look forward to seeing you in New York Fashion Week.